Hi everyone and welcome back to the Organized Notebook. In this video, we wanted to cover 30 Notion tips and tricks that are especially perfect for beginners or if you want to level up your Notion workspaces. So let's get started. The first tip we wanted to cover is small text full width for more space. And if you've watched any of our other videos, you might have noticed that we 90% of the time do this to start our templates, and this is because it just gives way more space. So how you do it is to go to the top right hand corner, three dots, and then you can toggle small text and full width on. And as you can see, we have way more space here. And sometimes it is better when you don't toggle these on, and that would be things like blog templates, where you want all your information to be centered. But majority of the cases, especially if you're using databases, we really recommend small text full width. So the next tip we have for you is to use horizontal dividers by typing /divider. And how we like to use this is especially for headings. So if we were to have a heading here, so /heading, and we had heading 3, heading, we like to do /divider underneath like this so that it really clearly marks the headings versus the other text space. So we recommend using horizontal dividers like this. And of course, you can also double dividers. And if you put 2, you can kind of get cool designs just from using these dividers. So we recommend you to experiment with it and definitely break up your pages with horizontal dividers. So the next one we have for you is to use /quote to make vertical dividers. And what this means is if you type /quote, you'll notice that it has this line on the left side, and you can use this as sort of a hack in order to create the appearance of multiple dividers. And for that, you'll also need to do /column. And let's say we made 2 columns, and we could move this one onto the other column like this. And then on this side, we could make another quote. And now we have a divider here. So if we have, and then if you press Shift Enter to make it longer, divider text. You can experiment with different layouts just by doing this quote and using it as vertical dividers. The next thing we want to show you is how to check your word count. And you can check word counts in any Notion page, and all you actually have to do is go to the 3 dots on the right corner, and you can scroll all the way down, and then here you'll see word count 206, and along with that you'll see that who it was last edited by and today's date and time. Next, we wanted to show you that you can set database templates in order to save time. So let's make a sample database here by typing /table. And we will do table view and new database. So we have a sample database here. And let's say that you have a meeting note that you do a lot, and every week maybe use the same meeting notes and it has the same structure. Well, instead of making the structure the same every time manually, you can actually go to this blue button here and then click the arrow and do plus new template, and then you could call this meeting note template. And then you could put your heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and so on, so that you have the structure already pre-made before you have to make another page in the database. So if we go back and then we open a new page here, you'll notice that you can just click meeting note template and it's just going to create this template for you each time. So we highly recommend using this tip, and you can even go to the 3 dots here to set it as a default template. And when you do that, it's just going to always use that template every time you make a new page in this database. The next thing we wanted to show you is to make sure to use toggles in order to show or hide content. So let's say we move this table here, and this is taking up a lot of space. So we could do /toggle, and we could do toggle heading 3, and we could just call it sample database. And we can open the toggle and then just move this inside here. If we toggle this on and off, you'll notice that we can hide this database like this. So if you have databases that are really big or lots of text that is just crowding the page, you can choose to do this sample database like this and put it inside a toggle, for example. The next tip we have for you is to use colons to find emojis very quickly. So if you type colon and then you type a search keyword such as sparkle, you'll be able to find emojis really quickly just from your keyboard. And if you really don't even want to use any kind of scrolling or anything, what you can do is just use the arrow keys as well. So let's say we do colon sparkle, and then we can use the arrow keys to choose between all of these ones that match this search keyword. So this makes it really fast to type emojis. The next thing we wanted to show you is to use Unsplash for fast and aesthetic photos. So if we go to the top of this page and we click add cover and change cover, you'll notice that there's this option for Unsplash. And what this is just a stock image library. So all of these are copyright free and you can really just search for anything. So let's say we wanted a beach photo, we could just choose a beach from here. And this is a great way to just add really nice cover photos depending on your mood and your theme for the template or page that you're trying to create. The next thing we want to show you is to make sure to freeze columns in table view. And this is actually a relatively new feature that we pretty much always use nowadays with our table view databases, especially if you have lots of properties. So if you type /table and we go to table view database plus new database, and let's say that we had a bunch of properties. So we're just going to add a bunch of properties here, another property here, and let's keep adding properties. Eventually, you don't see the name anymore, this name column, because you just have so many properties. Well, what you can do is just click the name here and then click freeze up to column. And what that does is that once it hits the end of your page, it's going to stay there and freeze that column while you scroll through your other properties. So this is a super useful feature. The next thing we want to show you is to group in databases to organize them. And this is actually something that we've realized quite later compared to other features in Notion. And now it's just something that we can't really live without. So what this means is that if you have a database, and this is especially useful for date databases. So let's say we have a table view and we'll just put sample. And we're going to add a date property. And we'll just add a bunch of dates here. So now we have a bunch of dates in the database. And what we mean is that we can go to the three dots here, and then we can go to group, and we could group by date by clicking date. And we can actually date by in various ways. So let's say we dated it by month and we toggle hide empty groups. And now we can see our data grouped by month like this with these toggles. And this is really useful because in the past we might have used many database views by adding tabs here and filtering them, let's say by October, January, March, or in different ways in that sense. But by doing it with groups, you might be able to eliminate the need for multiple tabs on your database and makes it way cleaner. So we recommend trying this out to group your data using various properties. So you can just choose what you want to group by and just try them out, and you'll start to see the possibilities of using groups in databases. The next thing we wanted to show you is to use the multi-select property to categorize your data. So you can kind of think of the multi-select property as a category, and this works really well in many use cases. So if we have, actually we can just use the same database. So if we had here, we add a new property, which is multi-select. And let's say we're doing a book database, then we could do a genre here. So let's call it genre. And we had fiction. And we had here nonfiction, and then here we might have fantasy. So now what you can do is you can actually categorize it by genre using this group function as well. So if we go to group and we group by, and instead we choose genre, then you'll see that it's now sorted by fantasy, fiction, and nonfiction, like this. So using multi-select property to categorize data is super useful, and you can even make tabs for fantasy, fiction, nonfiction, and so on if you wanted to see your data in that way as well. Next, we want to show you how to use callout boxes for menus. And this is something we love to do because it just adds a new look to a Notion page. And what you need to do is type /callout. And then here in the icon slot, we like to put something that has lines like this so that it kind of resembles a menu. And then we type menu, we can put it like this and then bold it. And then under here, you can put various Notion pages. So we could put /page and, for example, sample page. And now if we go here, you'll see that there's sample page here, and then you could even duplicate this and then it becomes this nice menu. So we recommend using callout boxes for menus in this way. The next thing we wanted to show you is to remember the created date, last edited, and created by properties. And these are kind of automated properties that can really save you a lot of time if you incorporate them correctly. So let's actually go ahead and take this table we have here, and we'll just move it down so we can show you this. So we have this table, and let's say we're going to change this text property. So we can edit property and we can change the type. And now we have created time. So if we click created time, it's going to automatically generate the time that this database item was created. So this is really useful if that's the way you want to use it. Like every page that you add to a database, if it needs to be tagged by a date immediately, instead of manually adding the date, you can just add a property called created date. And along with created date, there's also another property, which is the edited date. So last edited date can be really useful for note databases, for example. And so if we go last edited time, and there's also last edited by if you want to keep track of who touched it last. So this is really useful as well. The next thing we wanted to talk about is using columns on the page. So when you have a Notion page on your desktop, it's really nice to break it up into different columns so that you have a variety on your page. So instead of just everything in one view, you might want to put your linked databases or things into different sections onto your page. And for that, you'll want to do /column. And then you'll see that there's options to do 2, 3, 4, and 5 columns. And we usually only use up to 3 columns on a desktop page because it gets pretty crowded if you start putting 5 columns. And especially when you check it on mobile, it's going to reduce everything into one column. So keep that in mind when you design your Notion pages, that it's a good idea to use columns, but we recommend 2 to 3. The next thing is to highlight text to see all text options. So let's say we type text and then we highlight it. And then you see all sorts of options you can do with this text. And we really recommend you to use the text editor this way because it's kind of like in a word processor, you would have this at the top and you can choose these options. But with Notion, it kind of stays here so that you just highlight the text and then you can choose whether you want to bold it, whether you want to italicize it, and so on. And you can also play around with this one, which makes it into this code text. And this can also add variety to your text as well. The next one is, well, we've already showed you many times, but use /commands. And if you type /, you have so many options here on what you can do. And just typing slash and then being able to see everything you can do in Notion is just such a useful thing. The next thing is to add widgets such as from indify.co. So if we go to indify.co, you'll see that indify.co has so many widgets that you can add from quotes, life progress bars, weather, and Google Calendar, embeds, and so on. So we really recommend going here, and we'll leave the link to this in the description below. But let's say that we already made this widget for weather. You can just copy the link, and then if you go to your Notion workspace and type slash embed, you can embed the link like so, and then you can get some weather widget here. So definitely go to indify.co to add some variety to your pages and more information to your personal dashboards. Next, we wanted to show you how to hide database title. This is another one that we almost always use because having database titles makes the databases look a bit cluttered and you have way less customization options on how you title your database. So let's actually take this database and we'll move it down. And right now it's untitled. So let's say we have database title here. What you have to do is you go to the three dots here, and then we will change by going to layout and then toggling off show database title. So just doing that cleans up this table, as you can see. The next tip we have for you is to use as few databases as possible. So it's really exciting to make databases in Notion and relate them and add rollups and so on. But just make sure that you're using the minimum amount of databases possible for what you're trying to achieve, because the more databases you have, the more complicated things become. So let's say that you have a database where you're trying to track assignments and tests with Notion. Try to see if you could combine assignments and tests into the same database. So we like to think of everything in one central place. The next tip is to use table of contents for long pages. And if we go all the way to the top and we type slash table, you'll see that there's this thing called table of contents. Well, you can click here and then it generates a table of contents like so. And even better is if you do a toggle, especially if it's this long, you could do toggle and then toggle heading 3, table of contents, and then you could move it here like so. And actually, because this is a heading, it's going to show up already also in the table of contents. So you might want to actually change this into a normal toggle. And then it's going to be like this. And it's hidden here. So table of contents can be useful, especially for really long pages, like this one, for example. The next tip that we'd like to show you is that you can use embed in any Notion page, and in order to do that, you can type slash embed and click embed, and you can embed anything from PDFs, Google Docs, Google Maps, Spotify, and more. And let's take an example where we want to add a Google map into your Notion page. So if we go to Google Maps and let's say that we're planning a trip to Tokyo and we want to save the address to Tokyo Tower and add it to our Notion page, well, we can go to share and then we can copy the link here and then we can go back to our Notion and paste in the link and embed link. And now we get this nice map on our page. And this is really useful if you're, for example, making a travel journal in Notion. So embeds are super useful. The next thing to know is that you can just move around blocks with the block handle. And what is a block handle? Block handle is these 6 dots here. And you can just move things around if you just click here, for example, like this, and then like this. So everything in Notion belongs to blocks. So that makes it very mobile, and you can think of it kind of like a Lego block that you can pretty much put it everywhere. The next thing we wanted to discuss is that you can remove lines in table view databases. And if we go back to our table view database here, all you have to do is click this 3 dots here, and then you can go to layout and you can toggle off show vertical lines. And if you do that, you'll see that all the lines are gone, and it kind of makes the whole visuals much smoother. So you might want to experiment with that if you want this kind of line effect. Next, we highly recommend you to organize your pages sort of like folders. So what this means is that if you had a main topic such as Notion, and let's say that we change this into a page. So we have a Notion folder. Well, then we can put things like /page and Notion resources. And if we go back, you'll notice that we have Notion resources inside Notion folder. And you can even go as far as adding an icon such as a folder. And this is really going to make your Notion pages way more organized if you can organize your pages in a way that they end up in a main idea folder like this, so you can really keep track of everything you need. Next, we wanted to show you how to make new tabs. And if you do Command or Control T, you can just add a quick tab to your Notion workspace. So if we do Command T, it's going to show you a new tab. And this is a really nice way if you needed to reference two pages at the same time. So the next thing we wanted to show you is to toggle light and dark mode. And for that, you can do Command Control Shift L. So if we Command Control Shift L, it's going to change dark mode. And if we do Command Control Shift L again, it's going to go back to light mode. So if the white background is hurting your eyes, or you just want to minimize your lights at night, you can just turn it on that way as well. The next thing we wanted to show you is that Notion not only has table view databases, but it also has simple tables, and you can make them by typing /table. And it's quite neat because you can actually change the colors of your table cells with all of Notion's colors, and you can type in text and numbers. So it's a really nice way to organize your pages. The next thing we recommend you to do is set recurring templates. So if we go back to this database, you can set recurring templates by going to this blue button here, and we're going to add a new template, recurring template. And if we go back, template right there is going to repeat at certain time intervals as you need and create a new page into your database. And to do that, you just click the three dots here, and then you can go to repeat and turn it on, and you can choose between every day, every week, every month, every year. So this is really useful if you have something like meeting notes that happen every week. You can just set it on repeat so you don't have to think about it. Then we have duplicate. So duplicate is kind of like your best friend, and you can do Command Control D to duplicate anything. So for example, if we just go here and just type Command D, you can just endlessly create more of these. And also you can click on this 6 dots here and then go to duplicate manually like this. You can even duplicate databases by clicking here and duplicate. Next, we wanted to share that gallery view with cover photos really adds nice visuals on a Notion page. So if we type /gallery and plus new database, you'll notice that the default mode is that it shows inside of the page like this. But actually, the majority of people use gallery view by adding cover photos to each of these cards. And to change the settings for that, you want to go to the three dots here and then go to layout, and then you want to go to card preview and turn this into page cover. So when you do that, you can go to Unsplash or whatever you want here for your cover photo. And let's say we wanted this one, and it's just going to show up on your gallery view. And this is a really nice way to add some more pictures and images and visuals to your Notion workspace. Thank you so much for watching. Those are our 30 tips and tricks for Notion. And let us know in the comments if any of these were new for you or which of these tips and tricks do you use in your workspaces. We'd love to hear from you and see you in the next video.